When renting a property in the UK, one of the most common concerns for tenants is whether they would get their full deposit back at the end of their tenancy. In the UK, the landlord or letting agent typically requires a deposit from a tenant at the beginning of a tenancy to cover any damages or, let's say, unpaid rent during their tenancy. However, some tenants are unfairly charged by their landlord or letting agent for issues that weren't their fault, or they'll just overcharge them for minor damages when they are moving out. Seeing that I have moved 4 times in the last 4 years, I have gained experience getting a decent amount back from my rental deposit when moving out. When we left my student accommodation in Lancaster, the landlord did not make any deduction from our deposit. However, when we left our luxurious city centre apartment in the heart of Manchester, the landlord deducted £247.20 from our £1,384 deposit, which meant we got £1,134.80 back from our deposit. Then with our next rental, which was the last house we rented before we bought and moved into our own house, the landlord deducted £165 from our £1,005 deposit, leaving us with £840. So we got £840 back from our deposit. So I've learned a thing or two about getting a substantial amount of money back from a deposit return at the end of a tenancy here in the UK. So with that said, in this video, I'll provide you with a comprehensive guide on how to avoid losing your deposit unfairly or being overcharged for damages when you're moving out at the end of your tenancy agreements. The first thing you want to do to avoid losing your deposit unfairly or to avoid being overcharged for damages that were not your fault by your letting agent or landlord is to empower yourself by knowing your rights. Now, in the UK, your landlord must legally protect your deposit in a government-approved tenancy deposit protection scheme, that is TDP for short, if you are on an assured short hold tenancy. Now, knowing this will just give you a solid foundation to protect your rights as a tenant, because this TDP scheme plays a vital role in safeguarding your deposit here in the UK. Now, these schemes can be valuable in resolving disputes if you feel your deposit is unfairly withheld by your letting agent or landlord. There are 3 government-approved TDP schemes in England and Wales, and their Deposit Protection Service, that is DPS for short, My Deposit, and Tenancy Deposit Scheme, that is the TDS for short. Now, before you rent any property here in the UK, you want to confirm from your letting agent or landlord that a government-approved TDP scheme will protect your deposit. Likewise, you want to ensure that you receive a written confirmation from your landlord or letting agent that your deposit is protected within 30 days of you paying that deposit to them. Now, this protection just ensures that your deposit will be returned in full, unless your landlord or letting agent can prove that you caused any damage to the property, you did not pay rent, or you broke the terms of your rental agreement. So those are the instances where these government-approved deposit schemes would allow your landlord or letting agent to remove or deduct your deposit. That is why it is important that you arm yourself with this knowledge. So when you're renting a house, make sure you confirm that your deposit would be in one of these schemes, so that at the end of your tenancy, if any issue arises and your landlord or letting agent is wanting to deduct your deposit unfairly, then you can just say, let's go to the scheme that is protecting my deposit and sort the issue out. Now, the second thing you want to do to avoid being charged unfairly or to avoid your deposit deducted unnecessarily is that when you are moving in, like when you just move into the property, conduct a detailed inventory check. Like, it is very important to do this, because an inventory is a record of the property's condition, including any existing wear and tear. Now, in the UK, most landlords or letting agents would actually provide you with an inventory, but it is always a good idea that you create your own record of the house condition when you moved in as well. It is very important you do this. Most landlords and letting agents here in the UK will actually provide you with an inventory when you want to move into their property after your rental agreement has been settled and everything has been cleared. You've paid your first rent and you've paid your deposit. But it's always a good idea you create your own inventory checklist of the house condition as well immediately after you move in or when you get the keys of the property. Now let me give you some tips for a solid inventory check. What you want to do is to take pictures of every room in the property, and then you want to make sure you take pictures of any marks, stain, or signs of damage that existed before you moved in. During your tenancy, you want to document any existing issues such as scarped walls, cracked tiles, or worn out furniture. Even minor things like a little stain on a carpet, you should take pictures of everything, like record everything. Now, after you've done that, you want to keep a dated copy of your own inventory that you created and ensure that you send a copy to your landlord or letting agent. If possible, let them sign on your own inventory and their own inventory. They will do this for their own, but they can also do this for the one you also created. Also, ensure that you send a copy of all your findings when you do your own inventory check via email to them, just to keep a paper trail, as it might come in handy at the end of your tenancy. Having a clear record of the property's condition at the end of your tenancy will help you avoid being blamed for pre-existing issues and unnecessary deductions from your deposit. So that when your tenancy comes to an end and the landlord or letting agent is saying, oh, you caused this stain, or you caused this crack in the tiles, or you did that, you can just show them and say that, no, I didn't do this. When I saw this, when I moved in, I sent you an email about it, and make sure to reference that email. Now, moving on, one of the most effective ways to also avoid being unfairly charged at the end of your tenancy is by diligently maintaining the property throughout your stay. Now, I know it's a rented house, but please maintain your rented house or flat or apartment, whatever property you're renting, please maintain it. Regular cleaning and addressing minor issues can prevent a larger and more costly problem from developing. Just maintain the house. Report repairs promptly, like if there's anything that breaks down, such as an appliance or a structural issue like dampness or there's mold. Notify your landlord immediately, and make sure you do this via email so that you keep a paper trail that you were informing them all of these things, because it is the landlord's responsibility to fix issues that are not part of the normal wear and tear or due to the property's age. Like, let's say the property is just old, that's why some of the things are happening in the house, or some things were not well done. It is the landlord's responsibility to repair. So make sure you always inform your landlord. They will come and repair. Just make sure you take care of the person's property. You see, keeping the place clean, regularly cleaning would help keep things in good condition and ensure that there is no dirt or grime build up that could later cause any damage. Likewise, respect the property. Yes, it is not your property, it is a rented property, but please respect the property. Avoid any action that can cause significant damages, such as hanging pictures or shelves without permission, or moving large furniture without due care. Unless your landlord or letting agents are moving mad or they are just scrupulous people, they will not deduct your deposit if you properly maintain the property throughout your tenancy, because there will not be any issue. Like, the house was well maintained, so there will not be any issue for them to deduct your deposit. They might only deduct your deposit for things like cleaning. Now, let me just you guys. I remember when we were living in our luxurious apartment in the heart of Manchester. Then, when we were leaving the apartment, they actually told us to pay for cleaning because we did not clean the property well. And to be fair, when we moved into that property, the property was cleaned as though we just checked into a 5-star hotel. Like, the property was sparkling clean. So when they told us that we needed to pay for cleaning, although we cleaned the apartment, took out all the rubbish before we left the apartment, it made sense that we pay for the cleaning, because we didn't clean it up to the standards in which they cleaned it when we started our tenancy agreement. So it made sense for us to pay. I think they charged us about £220 to clean it, and I feel it will make sense for them to clean it for the next tenants. That's squeaky clean, finishing clean, like professional cleaning. Now, when we moved into the last house we moved out of before we moved into our own property that we bought, The house was not cleaned. The oven was very dirty and the house was not cleaned. The toilet was dirty. We took a picture and we sent it to them. They apologized. I was like, no problem. When we were moving out of the house, we actually cleaned it very well. Like, we washed the toilets, mopped the floor, did everything. They now sent us an email that we needed to pay for cleaning. We said, no, we're not going to pay for cleaning, because when we got to the house, like when we moved into the house was not professionally cleaned. They said we need to pay for professional cleaning. We said, no, we cleaned it up to the standard, even more than standard. We made the house. And they agreed, because we sent them pictures and we didn't pay for professional cleaning when we left our house, like the last house we lived in Manchester before we moved to our own property. So these two instances should just make you know that if you clean the property well to the standard you left it, they will not have to deduct your deposit, because you can fight for it and you took pictures, you can show them. But if you did not do the right thing, then you will not have mouth to fight for your deposit or to say they should not remove your deposit. And if you don't take pictures and record it, you might not be able to justify the fact on why you don't want to pay for certain things. Now, if you have got this video to this point, it means you find this video valuable. So please like this video so that it can be recommended to more people, so that they can benefit from the valuable information in this video. And do well to share this video with someone you think will find it beneficial. Now, the fourth thing you want to do to avoid your deposit being deducted is that when your tenancy is coming to an end, take time to prepare for the checkout inspection. Now, in the UK, they would always do something called a checkout inspection. So it is when the landlord or the letting agent would compare the property's current condition to the initial inventory they gave you, or to the initial inventory both of you did when you first started your tenancy. Now, what you want to do is that you want to take steps to ensure a smooth checkout by deep cleaning the property if possible. You can even hire a professional cleaning service if necessary, especially if the property was professionally cleaned before you moved in. Like I gave you example of the apartment we moved out for, where it was professionally cleaned when we moved in, but when we moved out, we just did our cleaning and it wasn't professional cleaning, and we had to pay for professional cleaning. And when we were in that house we moved to our own house, they didn't professionally clean anything, which we did not professionally clean anything, and we did not pay for professional cleaning. Another thing you want to do to prepare for checkout is to try to repair minor damages. You know, if you cause any minor damage, such as a small hole from picture hooks or scuffed paint, fix this yourself before your final inspection, so that your deposit will not be deducted for little things like this. Because trust me, your letting agents and landlord will look for the tiniest and minute things that is just maybe regular wear and tear, but it was a little bit above regular wear and tear to deduct your deposit. Like if you have a toddler and your toddler should write on the wall, do well to paint it when you're leaving. There are some correction paints for walls they sell on Amazon, very affordable. You know, it will save you lots of headache from your deposit being deducted. You know, this Amazon correction paint I'm talking about, they cost maybe like £30. I can't even remember, but you know, just buy it and touch up the walls. Like I remember when we were in our last house we lived in before moving to our own house, our son actually wrote everywhere on the wall. So what we did was, we had paint that they gave us when we moved into this house. So we took the paint back to Manchester and we needed to paint all the walls, and you know, everything was clean. So we didn't have to pay for that, because trust me, when we were checking out of that house, the last house we lived in Manchester, they wanted to charge us for dirty wall that is just normal wear and tear. Normally, if you paint a house white, it is normal that the wall will be dirty, and they wanted to charge us for that. But trust us, we fought for it. Now, this is not to say that we didn't pay for some things. We did pay for some things. Like for instance, our son stained the carpet and we had to pay like £70 to clean that stain. We left some child locks on the cupboard and on the doors, and they charged us like I think £50 just to remove child locks. Can you imagine? And it was because we forgot. I wanted to use my hairdryer to remove all the child locks before we moved that, but we forgot, and they charged us £60 for that. But you see, that cleaning, I didn't pay for that cleaning, because how will you charge me £60 for removing child lock and charge me £70 for cleaning the stain on the carpet, and you still want to charge me £200 for professional cleaning? How's that? You did not clean up professional standards. I had to them, no, I'm not paying for professional cleaning, but I paid for them removing the child lock from the door and them cleaning the stain on the carpet. So just do your due diligence to like clean the property, and remove things like child lock so that you don't remove your deposit because of child lock, that you can as well remove yourself and clean the surface nicely and nothing would affect anything. You know, when you're moving, ensure that you start your move early so that you would have time to clean the property and you have time to take all the rubbish, you know, maybe when you declutter or some things you don't need anymore, you want to dispose them, you would have time to put everything inside the bin, and you have time for council to come pick them up, or on bin collection day they can just pick them up so that you leave the front of the house nice and clean. Because I remember when we moved into our Manchester house, people that lived there, they did not try. They left a lot of rubbish in front of the house. We had to like call the letting agent to come and pack all the rubbish because we cannot be packing somebody else's rubbish. And all the dustbins were so full that it was overflowing. Like, we could not put it outside because on bin collection they don't need to carry dustbin that is so full, like there's no how to carry it and stuff like that. So the letting agent had to come and dispose everything. You know, things like that are not good, and I'm sure they would have deducted those people's money to dispose all of that bin. Here in the UK, council is come and dispose big rubbish for you. So what do I mean by this? When we were living in Manchester, we had some furnitures we bought from the charity shop that we felt we will not need it in our new house, or we didn't want to carry them, and like mattresses. What we did was we booked a slot on the Manchester Council website, and they came to carry those furnitures and dispose them for us for free. Like, we had slot for about 3 or 4 big items that they can come and carry and dispose for us for free. So what you want to do is just to, you know, plan your move out early so that you can use services like this from your council, so that they can dispose big rubbish for you, like rubbish that cannot fit into your bin. They can help you dispose. Now, some council will charge you for this, but in Manchester, I think you have like 3 slots yearly for free. Also, when you're moving out, you want to return the property to how it was when you moved in. Remove all your belongings, and if it was a furnished apartment, return all the furniture to where they were when you moved in. That's why initially I said you should take pictures of how the house was when you moved in, so that if you don't remember where what was, you can always look at the picture and know where to put things back. Remember that this is somebody's property and you need to respect it, and you need to put things back the way they did it, so that your own deposit will not be removed, so that they will not tell you, oh, because you move the furniture to the left from the right, they need to remove £20 from your deposit to pay someone to come and move the furniture back to where it was. Because these landlords and letting agents, they can be very funny. Now, another thing you want to do is to ensure that the property is completely cleared of your belongings, including all rubbish and unwanted furniture. Because if you leave your rubbish and unwanted furniture in the house or apartment and you move away without disposing them properly, they will charge you to dispose it. So please do the right thing, respect people's properties, so that your deposit will not be unfairly charged, or you will not even lose all of your deposit, because there's a whole lot of things they will want to charge you for at the end of your tenancy, that when they don't give you your deposit, you'll be wondering what is left in this deposit. I remember when we moved away from the house we last lived before we moved into the property we bought, we paid about 1,000 for our deposit. By the time they did all the whole deduction, they wanted to give us like 400 back. I was like, Nah. That's how I had to dispose almost everything. At the end of the day, I think we got about £820 back from our deposit, because remember I said we had to pay for like the child locks we left, and we had to pay for the stain my son like cost on the floor. And I did apologize to them for that, but I told them the rest of the things they wanted to charge us, like £200 for cleaning, for cutting garden that when we moved in they did not cut. They said we should pay for cutting the garden. I told them we're not paying for that, because we were the one cutting the garden, and when we moved in the garden was overgrown. We paid for someone to come and cut it, and they wanted to even charge us about £50 to cut garden that we used to cut for £20. I told them if they will not take £20, we are not paying. They should to be £20 like that. Anyway, moving on, the 5th thing you want to do when you're moving out of a house, or your tenancy have come to an end and you're moving out and you don't want your landlord or letting agent to deduct your deposit unfairly, is to understand what counts as fair wear and tear. It is essential you understand the difference between wear and tear and damage when it comes to them deducting whatever they want to deduct from your deposit. Now, landlords in the UK cannot charge you for normal wear and tear resulting from everyday living. For example, minor scuffs on the wall, carpets worn down from regular use, faded curtains from like maybe sunlight or natural paints fading are like normal wear and tear, your landlord cannot charge you for this. If they're charging you for this, you can dispute it and say, nope, I'm not paying for this. Now, large stains or burns on carpets, holes in walls, or broken furniture or appliances are examples of damage, and your landlord or letting agent can charge you for that. Like I mentioned earlier, when we were living in Manchester, my son created a stain on the carpet and has to pay for it for them to like clean it. Now, if you feel that your landlord or letting agent is wanting to charge you for fair wear and tear, you can actually dispute it through the TDP scheme. That's why in the beginning of this video, I say you should make sure that your deposit is secured with them. And please, when it comes to dispute, do not be afraid to dispute unfair deduction. I think this will bring me to my next point. Now, if you feel your landlord is making unfair deduction, you have the right to dispute them through the tenancy deposit protection schemes I mentioned earlier in this video. You can raise a formal dispute if you disagree with the deducted amount. If you believe the charges are for wear and tear rather than damages, or you are being charged for pre-existing damage, like when you saw the pictures you took before your tenancy, I'm like, this damage was there, why are you charging me? You can dispute it. You see, all you will need is just provide evidence such as your inventory checklist, photos, or any receipts of repair or cleaning that you did to the property. Like if they are charging you for cleaning, I say, I cleaned this property, even I cleaned it professionally, say you can bring your professional cleaning receipts to dispute it. Now, the TDP scheme will act as an independent third party to resolve the dispute fairly. That is why earlier on in the video, I mentioned that you should keep paper trails of your time in the property and the property's condition. It's very vital you do this. Now, when it comes to resolving the dispute or the back and forth, we will remove this from your deposit, we will not remove that from your deposit. Do not be afraid to say that the government deposit protection scheme your deposit is with to act as a third party to dispute it, because I'd gone this route before. Like when we were in our luxurious apartments in Manchester, they told us that we broke a tile. We did not break that tile because we saw in some of the videos we took that that tile has already been broken. So we gave birth to our son in that apartment, and in the bathroom when we are playing with him, maybe doing water time or bathing him, we used to take pictures of him and videos of him. So that's what helped us. So from one of the videos, we now found that, this tile has been broken. It was not us that broke this tile, because we went to early days when we first moved into that house. We now saw from the video. So we had mouth to say, we're not paying for the charge. I wanted to charge us, I think, £70 or £75. I can't remember, but 70 something pounds, or even £80 to repair that tile. Like they wanted to remove it from our deposit, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to pay this because I did not do it. When we were going back and forth too much with the letting agent, because it's a company landlord, so it's not like a individual landlord. When the talk was too much and I was tired, I just said, you know what, go to the deposit protection scheme people, let them dispute it. Yeah, they said, no, don't worry about it, we believe you. Don't be afraid to say, let's go to a third party to dispute it if you are sure that you're not the one that caused that damage, or if you are sure that I don't need to pay for this. It was in the same property that I was very happy to pay almost £200 plus to clean the apartment to like the professional hotel standard they cleaned it to when we moved in. And it was that same property. I said, no, I'm not paying for a broken tile that I did not break. And when we were in that property, they said we caused a stain to the couch, which was normal wear and tear. I said, don't problem, we'll pay for it. They removed £20 after we've paid £200 and something for professional cleaning. But to be fair, the apartment was meticulously cleaned, so I didn't budge. And there was a hole or a chip in the cupboard, and I know we're the one that caused it, because of the day I banked the door of the toilet on the wardrobe and it caused that chip. So we were happy to pay for that. So those were the things we paid for when we were in our luxurious apartment. So there are some things that you will know that, yeah, I will pay for this, I caused this, or maybe it was an oversight, like the child lock I told you about when we were in our house, like the last house we lived in Manchester, we paid for it. There are things that you know that, yeah, it's just an oversight. Maybe I did not clean this area thoroughly and you just pay for it. And there's something that you know that, it's not me that caused it. go and find how you would do it, and don't deduct anything from my deposit because I'm not paying for that. Moving on, another point I would give you guys when it comes to protecting your deposits from all these scrupulous letting agents and landlords that want to deduct everything is that throughout your tenancy, maintain a clear communication with your landlord or letting agent about the state of the property. You see, being proactive about addressing any concerns during your tenancy and discussing the end of your tenancy process can help avoid misunderstanding and dispute over your deposit. Basically, like I remember when we moved into the house we moved out from when we were in Manchester to move into our own house, like because the oven was kind of dirty, like the dirt was like permanent dirt. I don't even know what happened to that oven. We ourselves could not clean it, and we communicated it to them over and over and over again throughout like the 1 year 5 months we stayed in that house. We kept on telling them this. Oh, when you guys come back, they say they will come, they will come. We even bought some cleaning supplies, like all this pink stuff and stuff to clean the oven. This oven did not clean. So throughout our stay in that house, we could not use the oven. We had to buy air fryer. Now, trust me. So after the end of our tenancy, they now wanted to deduct our money for the dirty oven, to clean the oven. We told them, nope, we're not going to pay for it. We now had to show them all the emails I've been sending them that they'll say they'll clean, they did not clean it. So that's how we did not pay for it. So always, have a clear and open communication. Now, the last tip I want to give you when it comes to collecting your deposit back from your landlord or letting agent, deposit that you paid freely when you were paid the deposit. It was not a tug of war, but when it's time to collect it back, it's a tug of war. The last point I want to give you is that when it comes to getting back your deposit, patience is a virtue, because expect a lot of back and forth, as some letting agents will want to deduct as much as they can from your deposit for whatever reasons known to them. So that is why when your tenancy comes to an end, getting your deposit back can be a lengthy and annoying process. However, you must be professional throughout the process of communicating with them and remain calm while being assertive about what you're willing for them to deduct from your deposit and what you are not willing to pay for, like what you're not willing to accept. When we moved out of our last rental property to the house we bought, it took us over a month to get our deposit back. When we even moved from our luxurious apartment to the last house we lived in before we moved to our current house that we own now, it also took us over a month to get our deposit back. So the process can be lengthy. Money that you give to them freely, for them to give it back to you freely is always a problem. Now, in conclusion, by being aware of your rights, keeping thorough records, maintaining the property and respecting the property, and understanding the difference between what is wear and tear and damages, you can significantly reduce the chances of losing your deposit unfairly or being overcharged for damages you probably did not cause or damages you even caused. Now, if disputes arise between you and your landlord or letting agent, you guys could not just come to a conclusion or an agreement of what you are willing to pay and what they are willing to deduct. If the back and forth is just overwhelming, maybe it's more than like 2 months, you guys are still sending email back and forth, please just go to the tenancy dispute protection scheme, because they ensure that you are treated fairly and have a process to challenge any unfair deductions. Now, if you have watched this video to this point, I take it as you're moving houses or you're changing addresses. So if you want to know the essential organizations you must notify when you're changing addresses here in the UK to ensure a smooth transition, watch the video on your screen right now.